right, first serious question. Am I gonna be on one of your YouTube videos? I'll sign anything.
Well, it's interesting because it wasn't in the plan. In other words, on this little card that you have where you can get the audio of it, it says, use this barcode for the audio. And Esther was looking at it on the screen and she was thinking, damn, this was a good one. This has really been a good one. In other words, this is really out there on the leading edge. Really out there on the leading edge.
Okay, what I struggle with for years now, I know you've been talking about divine, inspired action, all sorts of different things. I cannot distinguish if I'm talking to myself or the divine. I'm trying to just make decisions.
Just pay attention to how you're feeling. You'll get so that you can feel the subtle differences more and more and more and more and more. And as much as you can feel is enough. Much of the time you're receiving. Much of the time you're receiving. Often when you're doing that, you question it for some reason. So don't question it. Whatever it is, let it be all right. It's like you can hear it as clearly as you can hear it. The story that we've told years ago that speaks to this really well is Esther couldn't find something that was precious to her. It was a beautiful gold pen, and she'd misplaced it. And when they moved, she touched everything they owned, and she still couldn't find it. And she wanted to find it, but finally she just gave it up. And then one day, she was looking for something else, and she thought, maybe I left it in one of my handbags. So she went into the closet and picked something that she had remembered using and reached in and came out with that pen. And the way we explained that is that what she really wanted was the pen, but she had to miss the perfume in order to find the pen, because the pen was so precious that it bothered her so much that it was lost, that she was blocking her own ability to find it because it mattered too much. Does that make sense to you? So we knew that she was looking for the pen. So when we saw an opportunity to guide her to something that would lead her to the pen, took 6 months before she came around to that. So your inner being is calling you to who you really are and what you want all the time. And so what happens with so many, that's where Esther was, and you too, you have this preconceived notion that if it's source energy, if it's your inner being, it's got to be profound, and it's got to be big, and sometimes it's just a good idea and another 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 good idea. Maybe this will explain it to you really clearly. Your inner beings adore living with you, eating with you, playing with you, making love with you, being funny with you, being physical in all kinds of ways with you. In other words, you are an extension of that, you see. And so your inner beings aren't just sitting around thinking of lofty things to get you to think. Your inner beings are enjoying the expansion and the evolution of all species, of all that is. The non-physical essence of that is enjoying the becoming of it. And everything is evolving and becoming, you see. So, in specific answer to your specific question, it's much better to just assume that it's coming from that. And if it isn't, you'll feel the ink of it. Esther used to play with Jerry. You know, Abraham has a message for you. It's about you buying something for me. And Jerry says, you can't fool me with that, Esther. I can always tell when it's Abraham and when it's you. I can always tell. Well, what's the difference? The difference is that when it's Abraham, the resistance is close to non-existence. And when it's Esther, it can be close to non-existence too, but when you really know someone, you can feel, and you really know yourself, you can feel. You can feel.
Trying.
You can feel. You can feel.
It's funny you brought that story up. I'm actually looking for one of my pens. And I have 2 pens, and I can't find it. And I'm wondering if I'm, in essence, I don't know, the absence of the pen, I'm pushing it away. It's just a small law of attraction thing, but...
Well, it's no accident we had that conversation, is it? Because it's in your atmosphere. It's in your bag, so it's a logical thing that the law of attraction would make it part of this conversation. In fact, everything that's been part of this conversation today is about what you all have in your point of attractions. That's what makes up what we have a conversation about. It's what you all have got going on. And everything about these gatherings is about us helping you to close the gap between where you are and where you really are on every subject that's active and important to you right here, right now. Let's not make this a big deal. Let's just acknowledge that you are an extension of source energy and that you often hear clearly and sometimes not so clearly, and that really the best thing in life that you could do for yourself and for anybody who's around you is to just feel as good as you can feel as often as you can feel good.
But when the failure arrives,
Failure?
I was just telling a young girl next to me, she goes, what are you struggling with? And not to get into it, but...
You're going to get into it, though, aren't you?
Yeah, but well, no. I'm not a financial person, so I don't want to sway anybody. I went to put in a stock option, and on a put, you make money when the stock goes down. So I said, all right, I'm doing this. I feel inspired. I feel good. I went to go to the computer, and I was busy with a patient. By the time I got back to the computer, the stock had went up. So if I would have put that in, I would have lost. And I said, man, I thought that was coming from inspired action, but obviously it wasn't. Does that make sense?
Well, it does before the fact, but after the fact, how does it feel? While it was happening, when that thought stood singularly within you, and your intention was to do that, and then you were called to something else, as you make the distinction between what you were called to and what you were going to do, which one has the strongest drawing power?
Oh, my patience.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always going to be the path of least resistance for you. And there's another piece to this. Like you said, you don't want to get complicated, and we don't either. But being of value to others is the strongest bunch of marbles that are in your bag. And when a stock goes down, does anybody have a negative experience?
Yes, of course.
And is that your nature?
Trying to change it, but yeah.
Is that what win-win really is?
I don't want to give up.
Don't give up. Keep winning. But you're asking us to explain to you the very precise specificity of the law of attraction, and it is really good. It's really good. And the more you understand it, and the more you are aware of what's going on, then the more satisfying it is. And then the more precisely you can place your thoughts, because you can have it all. You can have it all. You don't have to give up anything for anything. You can have it all as far as you can want it. In other words, you can't have beyond what life has caused you to ask for. You don't get anybody else's vortex. You only get your own. But there's a lot in there. Enough?
So, any suggestions before I leave?
About what?
What to do? Relax? Like the pen, maybe drop it, or just wait, keep studying? What? Anything?
We would encourage you to have more fun.
Okay, I could do that.
We would encourage you to not try so hard to enhance the experience of others. You're really big on that. You've sort of assigned yourself a responsibility about that. And it's going to make you slip in the shower and fall on the toilet and hurt your back if you don't watch out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is very exciting. It's taken me a lifetime to get here.
Lifetimes.
Lifetimes. And I'm actually here. This is very exciting. Wow. I have some questions, and I'd like you to tell me what you know.
We've got one answer, right?
Right. I'd like you to tell me what you know I need to know. What is truth?
Truth is a word that humans have conjured in order to help them sort out what people should be doing. So truth is an illusion, because there's not one truth, because the path of least resistance that is the greatest advantage to you is not the same path of least resistance that's advantage to someone else. So truth in the truest sense of the word, truth in the way that humans really want to understand it, is that you are so good. You are absolute good. That is the truth. That is the truth, that if you let yourself go, that's where you will discover yourself to be. In the arms, wrong reference, in the energy, closer still, in the embrace, works all right, of what is good and what is new and what is whole and what is source. Truth feels like clarity, and truth feels like love, and truth feels like appreciation. And falseness feels like hatred. Falseness feels like meanness. Falseness feels like insecurity. So truth is alignment with all that you are. And there are various degrees of that you are all living, because there's all kinds of reasons that you hold yourself apart from that. Some of the reasons that you hold yourself apart from it is because somebody else has convinced you differently. A lot of the reasons that you hold yourself apart from it is just sloppy thinking or habit of thought. A lot of reasons that you hold yourself apart from it is having spent so much time not believing that someone like you could live the full essence of all of that it just doesn't make sense to you. But in time, in the moment that you make your transition to non-physical, you will know the truth of who you are. You will feel the wholeness. You'll feel the absolute perfection of all that you have lived. And so we have a better answer to a better question. How do I know when I am in the moment resonating with what I want to believe is truth? How do I know when I am really true to myself? And we say, you really feel good. You either feel interest or clarity or appreciation or love. You don't feel doubt or worry or grief or anger or revenge or insecurity or disappointment or disapproval or jealousy or. So you can tell when you are in the vibration of it. Can you hear what we're saying? Truth, in the absolute essence of what we mean when we say it, is utter alignment with who you really are. And therefore we would also say, as long as you're in your physical body, it's a bit fleeting and it moves about a bit, just like you knew it would. You knew that you had to depart from it in order to feel the discord of that. You knew that you had to depart from the absolute knowing of your goodness and your perfection in order to reach for more. So you knew that you had to experience a little bit of that resistance contrast in the physical in order to ask for something that you couldn't have asked for if you hadn't experienced the absence of it. It's that stick that has one thing on one end and the other thing on the other end, wanted on one end and absence of wanted on the other. You knew that some of what you would discover as wanted would come from discovering unwanted. And you said, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to experience this in order to put this into motion, because once this is launched, then source energy is experiencing the expansion too. And source energy will revel with me in me allowing that to come to be. Esther said when she first hooked up with us, oh good, now I can find out who's lying. And we said, there's a better question, who believes what they're saying? Now that's coming into question a little bit these days, because there's a lot of talk about what's the truth about this and what's the truth about this and what's the truth about this. And what we really want to say is there's not one truth about anything. There are a lot of ideas, and source energy is calling everyone toward their desire of that idea. But humans keep wanting to give away their position of creator, and they want to assign it to someone else who always knows the truth. It's like, tell me what's true and tell me what's right, and I'll do my marching toward it. And we say, that's not who you are. You're not a regurgitator, you're a creator. So we have some things we want to say to all of you. You don't need to worry ever about someone being so selfish that they always reach for alignment with what feels good. You don't need to worry about them doing harm to the environment or to anyone, because it's not possible to be of disadvantage to anyone when you're in alignment with who you really are. And so we want to call alignment with who you really are that truth that you're reaching for.